Get ready, Staten Island. It's time to celebrate 5 years of Ferry Hawks baseball.
This week, come out to the ballpark as the Ferry Hawks welcome in the Hagerstown Flying Boxcars at Staten Island University Hospital Community Park for a homestand on June 10th. For a 5-game series as the Ferry Hawks welcome in the Hagerstown Flying Boxcars. Individual game tickets start at just $12.
Visit ferryhawks.com now to lock in your seats.
Listen, all you New Yorkers. Taxi!
Okay, man, we're looking around.
This is the 77 WABC minicast.
This is stunning that in New Jersey last night, they elected Dr. Adam Homaway, and he is a plastic surgeon, but ties to a convicted terrorist, the Blind Sheikh, tied to the World Trade Center bombing back in 1993. And let's bring in Andy McCarthy now, former assistant U.S. attorney for the Southern District. He was one of the prosecutors who went after the Blind Sheikh and had a very successful prosecution. I remember that well. Andy, it's great to have you back here on the show. This is Rita. We have Judge Weinberg and also Rudy Washington. Fill us in. First of all, your reaction that this guy was picked in the primary last night. It's a blue district, so he's probably going to Congress. This guy claims, I sort of knew him a little bit. He was his interpreter, right? He was his translator.
Yeah, I take some comfort, Rita, in that, he won with 28% of the vote in a crowded field, so it's still possible to say 72% of people voted against him in a contest where this had gotten attention. I wrote about it in early May, and Judge Mukasey, who tried our case, wrote about it in the Wall Street Journal around the same time. So it's not like this didn't get attention. But I'm not really surprised. I wrote a book in 2010 called The Grand Jihad, which was about the Muslim Brotherhood's infiltration activities in the West. And there's been a long-standing set of alliances between the hard left of actually left-wing parties in the West in general, but the Democratic Party in the United States and Islamists. It's gone on for quite a long time, and we see a lot of Islamist organizations that demonstrate with Democratic causes, argue for Democratic causes. It's not all that surprising to see, unfortunately.
Walk us through what this guy's connection to, again, with the Blind Sheikh, and remind everybody of the role of the Blind Sheikh, too.
Well, yeah, I think it's important, Rita, probably to the most important stuff with Hamawi happened in 1991. He took a trip to Detroit with the Blind Sheikh and with a government informant. That's what his testimony was about. It's also important to understand he voluntarily testified for the defense. It's not like I subpoenaed him as the government lawyer to come in and testify as a hostile witness. He volunteered to testify. The Blind Sheikh was a very important figure in Islamist circles, in jihadist circles. When he came to the United States in 1990, he had issued the fatwa or the Sharia law edict approving the murder of Anwar Sadat, the president of Egypt, who made peace with Israel. So he was a well-known, notorious figure when he came here. We had a government informant who testified that in 1991 he drove the Sheikh and other guys to this conference in Detroit, and basically the Sheikh asked him, when this guy was in the Egyptian military, why didn't you turn your guns on Mubarak, who was, of course, Sadat's successor? Hamawi's main reason for being called to testify was kind of stupid, I think, on their behalf. It was to say that he couldn't recall hearing such a conversation. But from our perspective, the evidence that the Blind Sheikh wanted Mubarak killed was overwhelming. And by testifying, Hamawi merely corroborated what our witness said, that this that this trip to Detroit had happened. So I think in the end he was much more of a net positive for us than for the defense. And he did end up testifying that even though this conference in Detroit was supposed to be about Sharia economic principles, the blind sheikh spent his time talking about jihad. The guy conceded that, he talked about war on the United States, war on Israel, and he basically shrugged his shoulders and said, yeah, he talked about jihad. That's what he did. Like he was always talking about jihad,
So he's hanging around a guy who's always talking about jihad. He translated for him, right, for a few years.
And he's been an apologist from all these many years. Is
right,
that correct,
and he's still anti-Israel. He's still bashing Israel.
Yeah, and it's beyond that. I mean, he went to Bosnia. I thought this was very interesting because the guys in our trial, Reed, I'm sure you'll remember this, they were caught planning simultaneous bombings. After the World Trade Center was attacked, simultaneous bombings of New York City landmarks. And we had such strong evidence against them that they really couldn't say they didn't do it. So their defense was that they had actually been training to go to Bosnia. They weren't really planning an attack on New York. And that was because the blind sheikh and people like him were always telling people to go to telling Muslims to go to the fields of jihad around the world, like Afghanistan and Bosnia, and participate in the jihad. And it turns out that Hamawi went to Bosnia. Now, I think he functioned as a doctor, but he did so under the auspices of an outfit called Benevolence International Fund, which was later designated as a front organization for Al-Qaeda, and I believe that the Treasury Department shut it down.
Wow. Andy, that is stunning details. You got to come back on again because sadly this guy is now the primary winner.
What we have to look at, Andy, is how we stop this fellow from being seated in the Congress if he gets elected in November.
Yeah, you got to come back on that one.
We have to discuss that one, Andy.
Andy, come back soon.
You got 72% of voters, I think, are open-minded on that.
Yeah, and you got 100% in the studio and on the phone.
Thanks, Andy.
Andy, thank you very much.
Listen to this podcast now
on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Why is the middle class shrinking? Why are people facing an affordability crisis while marginalized individuals called informals grow in numbers? Join me as I travel the world, speaking with people living in invisibility, the leaders working to solve it, and uncovering the hard truths shaping our economy and daily reality.
Download all of Red Apple Media's podcasts right now through your favorite podcast platform.